Hi and welcome to the news headlines at this hour. A massive explosion rocked Beirut with the force of an earthquake, followed by a shock wave that blew out windows and caused widespread damage across the Lebanese capital. At least 70 people were killed and more than 3,000 wounded, according to Health Minister Hassan Hamad. Injured residents flooded hospitals, pushing them past capacity. Medical officials pleaded for blood donations. The blast, which struck with the force of a 3.5 magnitude earthquake, according to Germany's Geosciences Center GFZ, followed a fire that broke out in the city's port area, based on multiple videos from the scene. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar is scheduled to visit Taiwan in coming days, in the highest-level visit by an American cabinet official since the break in formal diplomatic relations between Washington and Taipei in 1979. The visit, and especially a planned meeting with Taiwan's president, will likely create new frictions between the U.S. and China, which claims Taiwan as its own territory to be annexed by force if necessary. Taiwan is a key irritant in the troubled relationship between the world's two largest economies, who are also at odds over trade, technology, the South China Sea, and China's response to the coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. maintains only unofficial ties with the Taiwan in deference to Beijing, but is the island's most important ally and provider of defense equipment. Failure to introduce quarantine at the start of the coronavirus outbreak led to 10,000 infected people entering the UK, accelerating the spread of the disease, an investigation by MPs has found. The All-Party Home Affairs Committee said the government's inexplicable decision to lift restrictions on about 1 million people who arrived in the UK between March 13th and lockdown on March 23rd contributed to the pace and scale of COVID-19 outbreak. They said this highly unusual approach to the pandemic contrasted with other countries, from Singapore and New Zealand to Spain, that were introducing more comprehensive measures, including quarantine and self-isolation for international arrivals. Experts from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine told the MPs that they calculated up to 10,000 infected people, largely from Spain, France and Italy, including families returning from half-term breaks, imported COVID-19 into the UK. UN experts say North Korea is flouting UN sanctions by expanding its nuclear arsenal and ballistic missiles program and by exporting coal and illegally importing refined petroleum products in excess of its annual quota. The experts said in key sections of a report obtained on Tuesday by the press that North Korea has also evaded sanctions through targeted cyber attacks against officials of countries on the UN Security Council and on members of its expert panel. They did not elaborate or identify which of the 15 council nations were targeted. In the report on the Security Council, the experts said North Korea has maintained its nuclear facility and continues to produce fissile material, including highly enriched uranium that can be used in nuclear weapons. It has also continued to develop infrastructure and capacity for its ballistic missile program and moved ahead on construction of an experimental light water reactor, they added. President Donald Trump said U.S. military generals have told him that they seem to feel the massive explosion that rocked Beirut on Tuesday, killing at least 70 people, was a terrible attack likely caused by a bomb. Trump was asked why he called it an attack and not an accident, especially since Lebanese officials say they have not determined the cause of the explosion. He told reporters at the White House it would seem like a base on the explosion.
It would seem like it based on the explosion. I've met with some of our great generals and they just seemed to feel that this was not some kind of a manufacturing explosion type of event. This was a seems to be, according to them, they would know better than I would, but they seem to think it was a attack. It was a bomb of some kind, yes.
I met with some of our great generals and just seemed to feel that it was. That was not some kind of a manufacturing explosion type of an event. They seemed to think it was an attack. It was a bomb of some kind. Trump offered condolences to the victims and said the United States stood ready to assist Lebanon. It looks like a terrible attack, he added. President Donald Trump's demand that the US government get a cut from the potential Microsoft purchase of TikTok is the latest unprecedented scenario in an unprecedented situation. Microsoft is in talks to buy parts of TikTok, a forced sale after Trump threatened to ban the Chinese-owned video app, which claims 100 million US users and hundreds of millions globally. The Trump administration says TikTok is a national security concern. How a ban would have worked was not clear. That federal authorities has never been used before with a consumer app. TikTok denies that it would send US users data to the Chinese government. Microsoft did not address a potential price when it confirmed the talks. Challenge in ousting President Nicolas Maduro has only increased. Juan Guaido said on Tuesday as the Trump administration vowed its continued recognition of the opposition leader as the nation's interim president, even if his coalition loses control of Congress, its last major stronghold. Major parties in the opposition led by Guaido have announced plans to boycott upcoming congressional elections, accusing Maduro's government of hijacking the process. Their decision not to participate throws into questions their legitimacy after their terms end in early January. However, the State Department's top officials on Venezuela testifying in Washington said nothing Maduro does will alter the position held by the US and dozens of other nations about Venezuela's legitimate leadership. In our view, the constitutional president of Venezuela today and after January 5, 2021 is Juan Guaido. Trump's special representative to Venezuela, Elliot Abrams, told the U.S. Senate's Committee on Foreign Relations in a hearing. Maduro will not change the legal status for many countries around the world and especially for us. Most Germans are unconcerned by US plans to withdraw almost 12,000 troops currently stationed in the country, according to a new survey published on Tuesday. Angela Merkel's government has expressed dismay at the move, which Donald Trump said was in response to Germany's failure to pay enough towards the cost of its defense. But a poll by EU government found 47% of Germans are in favor of reducing the number of American troops based on their soil. Only 32% were opposed to any drop in the US presence, while 21% expressed no opinion on the issue. Most striking of all, a quarter of those surveyed said they would support a complete withdrawal of all US troops from Germany. The US currently has around 36,000 military personnel stationed in Germany, a legacy of the Cold War division of the country. The Pentagon announced the withdrawal of around 11,900 of its troops last week, claiming the move was intended to strengthen NATO and deter Russian aggression. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday warned the Lebanese militant Hezbollah group and others after Israeli forces said they thwarted an infiltration attempt from Syria by suspected militants. The Israeli military announced late on Monday that it had struck targets in Syria after the militants tried to plant explosives in the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights. Israel struck the 4 suspects who were believed to have been killed. Netanyahu, who toured a military base on Tuesday, said Israel would not hesitate to take further action. We hit a cell and now we hit the dispatchers. We will do what is necessary in order to defend ourselves. I suggest to all of them, including Hezbollah, to consider this, he added. For almost a century, no outsider was allowed to buy land and property in Indian-controlled Kashmir. That changed August 5 late year when India's Hindu nationalist government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi stripped the Himalayan state's semi-autonomous powers and downgraded it to a federally government territory. It also annulled the long-held hereditary special rights its native had over the disputed region's land ownership and jobs. Since then, India has brought a slew of changes through new laws. They are often drafted by bureaucrats without any democratic bearings and much of the resentment and anger of the region's people, many of whom want independence from India or unification with Pakistan.
This is Jyoti reporting for Our Voice. Preview.